Good morning students, welcome once again to online video class from PCHSS Balgada. So today a somewhat part read from a chapter of organisms and populations, that is called what? Population and interactions. So yesterday we had just started that chapter. So today I am going to explain that chapter in a descriptive. Okay? First, what is population interaction? Population interactions. When all the organisms living in a particular area, when all the organisms living in a particular area interacts with each other, where organisms are tend to benefited, neutral or detrimental. Okay, it's called population interaction. It's called population interaction. When all the organisms living in a particular area interact with each other, where some of the organisms are benefited, some of the organisms are benefited or neutral or get detrimental with each other. Okay, so that is called what? Population interaction. Now population interactions are of various types. It is classified into various types. That is what the first is mutualisms, then is competitions, then is predations, then is parasitisms, then is commensalisms, and the last one is what? Amensalisms. Okay. Now type of interaction. How many types of interactions are there? 6 types of interactions are there. 6 types of population interactions are there. Population interactions are there. Okay. So what are they? Types of interactions. Effects on species 1, effects on species 2, results of interactions. Results of interaction. Results of interaction. Okay, first one is types of interaction. First one is mutualisms. Effects on species 1, and the symbol would be plus, and here plus. Results of interaction means where both the species are benefited with each other. So what the results in mutualism is? Where both the species are benefited with each other. Benefited from each other. Okay? Each other. How? I'm showing the explanations and I'm giving the examples of mutualism. Like the best examples of mutualism is first is what? Mycorrhizal association. Mycorrhizal association. Number 2, symbiotic relations between rhizobium and leguminous plant leguminous plants. Okay. Number 3, mycorrhizal association, symbiotic relations, and number 3 is what are lichens. So what are the examples of mutualisms here? Both the species, remember it, both the species 1 and species 2 are benefited with each other. How? In case of mycorrhizal associations like fungus, two species are required. One is what? The glomus, is the name of a fungus, and another one of the tree, pinus tree. Here both the species, glomus is what? The fungus, and pinus is a tree. It is not angiospermic plant, that is pinus and glomus. Now here what happens in mycorrhizal association, in this kind of associations, glomus, it is a kind of a fungi, it gets associated at the nodules of the higher plants like pinus. It gets associated to the root of the nodules of pinus plant. Which one? Glomus. Glomus get associated at the nodules of the pinus plant, where they are benefited with each other. How they are benefited with each other? Pinus, the glomus provides for the fixation of the nutrients, available in the soil to the pinus. In return of that, pinus is providing glomus giving a what? Starch and carbohydrate for feeding. Okay? So by this way, glomus and pinus are associated with each other. Again, I am repeating. So glomus is a fungus, and pinus is a non-angiospermic plant. Glomus basically remains at the root nodules of the pinus, where at the nodules of the pinus, the glomus will absorb the nutrients and helps for the fixations of some nutrients like sulfur. Okay, but in return of that, pinus provides nutrients to the glomus. By this way, they are associated with each other. That is called the mycorrhizal association. Next is symbiotic relationship between rhizobium and leguminous plant. The symbiotic relationship between rhizobium and leguminous plant. This is species 1, glomus is species 1, and glomus and pinus is species 2. Here both are benefited with each other. But in case symbiotic relationship, rhizobium and leguminous are exhibiting which kind of relationship? Mutualisms. Okay, they are interdependent with each other. How they are interdependent with each other? Rhizobium, as we know, rhizobium is a bacteria, and leguminous plant, that means the plants like pea, gram, which belongs to the family of Fabaceae. Plant family, that is Fabaceae. Okay, leguminous plant like pea, gram, and this, in particular in these plants, the root nodules are present. What it is present? Root nodules are present in leguminous plant. Which kind of root? Root nodules are present at the root of the leguminous plant, and the main function of the root nodules is to absorb the nutrients. How they are absorbing the root nodules? By the medium of rhizobium. The rhizobium helps to absorb the nutrients. So rhizobium helps to absorb the nutrients like what? Ammonia, nitrate and nitrate. And these rhizobium, particularly these rhizobium bacteria, will convert ammonia to nitrates and nitrates to nitrites to fix the nitrogen, which is essential for the growth of plant. Okay, in return of that, leguminous plants providing starch. Leguminous plant is providing starch to the rhizobium for the further development of it. Okay, so this is the symbiotic relationship between rhizobium and leguminous plant. Again, leguminous plant at the root nodules is present, and in that particular root nodules, which kind of bacteria taking shelter in it? That is rhizobium. And the main function of the rhizobium is to convert the ammonia or nitrate to nitrites into nitrogen, which is essential for the development and growth of the plant. But in return of that, leguminous plant is providing starch. It is also providing nutrient to the rhizobium for the development of rhizobium. Okay. Next, lichen. What is called lichens? Lichen, it is associated with two components. One is phycobind and another one is mycobind. Okay, phycobind and mycobind. That is algal component and fungal component respectively. Which one? Lichen. So lichens having two types of components, algal component and fungal component. Phycobind and this is mycobind. Okay. what happens in lichens? Lichens is a organism which it is a combination of two components. One is algal component and fungal component. Now algal icobiotes provides nutrients to the fungus. Icobiote provides or algae provides nutrients to the fungi. In return of that, fungi provides shelters to the algae. Okay. So this is the combinations of, so lichen is a combination of algae and fungi. Okay. So these are the example of mutualism. First one is mycorrhizal association, second one is symbiotic relationship between rhizobium and leguminous plant, and third one is lichen, which is the components of algal and fungal component. And algae is providing nutrients to the fungi, and in return of that, fungi is providing shelter for algae. Okay, this is the association, and this is the examples. So these are the examples which are included under mutualisms. Okay. Now, where both the species, example glomus and pinus are benefited with each other. So that's why the symbol of both the species is plus and plus respectively. And here also rhizobium plus and leguminous plant is also plus, and algal component is also plus, and fungal is also plus, because both the species are benefited with each other. So this is the example of what? Mutualism. After mutualisms, there is competition. What happens in competitions? Number 2 is competition. Number 2, competition effects on species 1. Both are having negative symbol, and results of interactions is what? Competitions, results on interactions. Both the species struggles for same resources. Okay. So what is competition? Competition means where both the species of different, or it may be same species, where different or same species are fighting or struggling for resources. Okay, for the resources like food and shelter. So that kind of interaction is called competitions. Effects on species 1 and effects on species 2 both are having negative. Because why? Because both are fighting for a same resource. That is called competition. Now competitions are classified into 2 types: interspecific and intraspecific competition. Interspecific and intraspecific competition. What happens in interspecific and intraspecific competition? Interspecific, when two different species. Interspecific means when two different species struggles for a same resource. That is called interspecific competitions. When two different species fights for a same resource. Same resources is called interspecific competition. Is called interspecific competition. Which is the best example of interspecific competition? The best example of interspecific competition is lion and tiger. Though they are having a same genus but varies in the species. As for example, lion, the scientific name of the lion is Panthera leo, and the scientific name of tiger is Panthera tigris. As the genus are same, but the species are different. One is leo and another one is the tigris. Okay, so they are both are of what? Different species, fighting for a same species, fighting for a same resource. That is, both lion and tiger are fighting to get or fighting for the prey of what? No, deer. Okay, the deer is what? The same one common resource. Okay, where two different species fights for the same resource is called interspecific competitions. The best example of interspecific competition is lion and tiger fighting to get a food from a deer. So that is called interspecific competition. Now intraspecific competition when two species, when two species, not different species, okay, when both the identical species are fighting to get a same resource is called what? No, intra-specific competitions. Okay. When two same species fights for a same resource is called intraspecific competition. Intraspecific competition. The best example of intraspecific competitions, like both the dogs are fighting for a single prey, where both the dogs are fighting for a single prey, or where both the cats are fighting for a single prey, where both the lions are fighting for a single prey, where both the tigers are fighting for a single prey, because all the having what? The same species fighting for a same prey. That is called what? No, intraspecific competition. So these are the difference between interspecific competition and intraspecific competitions. Okay. Now Gauss competitive exclusion principle. What is called Gauss competitive exclusion principle? Gauss competitive exclusion principle given by a scientist called Harding. What happens in Gauss competitive exclusion principle? When two same species does not coexist. When two same species does not coexist in a same habitat, where the inferior species are eliminated, by the superior species, is called Gauss competitive exclusion principle, which is given by Harding. The two same species does not coexist in a same habitat, where the inferior species are eliminated, where the weaker section of the species are eliminated, whereas the stronger will retain at that positions. Okay, so this is called what? Gauss competitive exclusion principle, which is given by Harding. Two same species does not coexist in a same habitat, where the inferior species are eliminated or destroyed by the superior species. Okay, now competition is over. First one is mutualism, second one is competition, and next one is predation. What is called predation? Next type of interaction is predation. Predation. First one is positive and second one is zero. Why predations? Okay. Predations where one species is benefited, where one species is benefited and other is destroyed and other one is destroyed. Okay, that is called what? No, predations. Predation, sorry, positive and negative. Positive and negative. Positive and negative. Okay, predations. Effect on species 1 positive and effect on species 2 is negative. Where one species is benefited and other one is destroyed and other one is destroyed. Okay, predations. What is the examples of predations? When a tiger is killing a deer. So tiger is what it is? Effects on species 1, that is positive because it is benefiting. Tiger is killing a deer. The tiger is benefiting on other species like deer. It is benefiting on deer. But in terms of that, deer doesn't getting any benefit. It will get eliminated or it will get killed by the tiger. So that's why effect on species 2 is negative. That is negative is constant to what? Deer, and positive is tiger. Where one species is benefited and other one is destroyed. That is called the predations. Number 4, parasitisms. Parasitisms. What happens in parasitisms? Effects on species 1 positive and effects on species 2 negative. Here in parasitisms, where one species is benefited and other is harmed, but it will not get destroyed instantly, but it will get harmed by the species 1. In parasitisms, one species is benefited, and other one get harmed. That is called parasitism. How many types of parasitism are there? 3. Ectoparasitisms, endoparasitisms, and brood parasitisms. Which kind of parasitism? Brood parasitisms. The other name of brood parasitism is kleptoparasitisms. So, what is ectoparasitism? Ectoparasitisms, the parasites which remains on the surface of our body are called ectoparasites. The parasites which remains on the surface of our body, the parasites which remains on the surface of body of organisms get benefited, but the host organisms get harmed. The best examples of ectoparasitisms are leech. Example, leech. Which is the best example of ectoparasitisms? Leech, lice, mosquito. So these are the examples of ectoparasitism. And in case of endoparasitism, the parasite which remains inside our body are called endoparasitisms. Okay, the parasites which remains inside the organisms, inside the body of organisms, Okay. Now, in case of ectoparasite, again I am explaining. In case of ectoparasite, the parasitism which remains on the surface of body of organisms get benefited, but the host organisms get harmed. Example: leech, lice, mosquito. These are the examples from the animals and from the plants. is Cuscuta. Which kind of plant? Cuscuta plant. Which kind of plant? Cuscuta. Cuscuta plants remains on the other plants. Other plants like which kind of plant? Gingipus plant. Which kind of plant? Gingipus. Okay. Cuscuta plants remains. Did you have ever seen a yellow tendril-like structures which it is getting associated with another tree? That yellow thread-like structure, which it is in the form of twining form, which it is remaining on the other plants, which remains on the wound round on the other plants in the form of parasites. Okay, which one? Cuscuta plants. Cuscuta plants remains on the other plant. That which kind of plant? Gingipus. Which kind of plant? Gingipus. By this way they derive which plant? The Cuscuta plant derives the nutrients from the Gingipus plants. Okay, as they are deriving the nutrients from the Gingipus plant, Cuscuta is benefited, whereas the Gingipus is not getting enough nutrient for its development. Okay, so this is what in this condition, which one is parasite? Cuscuta is a parasite and Gingipus is a host plant, and this is remains in the form of negative, and Cuscuta is what of positive. Why Cuscuta is positive? Because Cuscuta is deriving a nutrient from Gingipus plants, but on the other hand, Gingipus is not getting enough nutrient for the development, so that's why it remains in the form of what? Negative. It is not getting any benefit. It is getting harm. Which plant? Gingipus plant. As Gingipus is a host plant. Clear? Next, endoparasite. The parasites which remains inside the body of organisms are called endoparasites. Endoparasites. The best examples of endoparasites are tapeworm, Plasmodium, as Plasmodium remains in the liver cells and blood cells, whereas the tapeworm remains in the intestine. Okay, which derives the nutrients from our body. So whatever we are eating, that means the nutrients which it is gets absorbed, the nutrients which it gets absorbed in the intestine, and the same at the particular region of the intestine, the inner part of the intestine, these kinds of tapeworm are getting associated and they absorb the nutrients from the proboscis called scolex, where we can't get enough nutrient for our development. So endoparasite is the best examples of endoparasite: tapeworm, Plasmodium, and another one is Ascaris, and another one is also what? Ascaris, which is leading to a disease called ascariasis. Okay, the brood parasitism. Did you have ever heard a story about a quail and crow? Brood parasitism. Brood parasitism, it is a kleptoparasitism. Okay, what happens in brood parasitism? Suppose a crow has laid eggs. Suppose a crow had laid an egg in a nest. In that nest, cow, bird or cuckoo will come onto the nest of the crow bird and it will destroy their eggs. As a result of, if they are destroying their eggs, and that cow bird or cuckoo will lay eggs on the crow's nest, because they don't build the nest. Which birds? Cuckoo, quail and crow bird. They doesn't lay eggs. They doesn't build nest, and they lay eggs on the crow's nest. Okay. After they are laying the eggs on the crow's nest, and the crow will remain unaffected and the crow is unknown of the act what they had did. Okay, and the crow will come and lay as a babysitter, and it will hatch the egg until the baby is coming out from the egg. After coming out from the egg, the crow will again breed that individuals with the food. After getting mature, they will fly away. So this kind of parasitism is called a brood parasitism. The best example of brood parasitism is quail and crow bird or cuckoo, whatever that is, cuckoo or quail, which doesn't build nest, and they lay eggs on the crow's nest, and the crow will come and hatch on the egg of the quail birds. Okay. egg of the quail birds, and after hatching and after the incubations, when the baby birds will come out from the eggs, and after that also the crow will feeds them with food. After getting matures or after the developmental stage, when the birds are exhibiting, after development they will get fly away. So that is called what? No, brood parasitisms or kleptoparasitism. It is the best examples. The brood parasitism, the best example of brood parasitisms are what? Cuckoo and quail. Okay? Brood parasitisms. Next. Four types of interactions is over. Now another two are left, that is commensalisms and amensalisms. Commensalisms and amensalisms. Commensalisms, where one is benefited and other remains unaffected. One species is benefited and other remains unharmed, and other remains unharmed. It's called commensalisms. The best example of commensalisms are egret and cattle. Egret and cattle. Egret is a bird. Egret is a bird which it sits on the back of the cattle like buffalo. Did you ever see a buffalo when it gets muddy or when it gets soiled itself in some ponds or some muddy pond? After getting out from the pond, there on the surface of the body, some ticks or some insects get associated on the surface of the body. At the same time, the egret, it is an insect-eating bird called egret, and at the same time, the egret will take shelters on the back of the buffalo. As the buffalo continues to locomote itself, and the egret will just sit on its surface and it will pick up all the insects from the body which it is getting associated initially. Okay, by this way the combinations of egret and cattle is called what? Commensalisms. In here, egret possessing a positive symbol and cattle is having 0. Why? Because egret is benefiting but cattle remains unharmed. It doesn't matter to the cattle what it happened to its body. Okay? Egret will just sit on the back of the cattle and it will pick up all the insect which it is initially associated on the surface of the body of the cattle. As the cattle is moving, then the egret is also moving with themselves and moving on the egret is also moving on the cattle, sitting on it. Then after that, the cattle will remain unharmed because it doesn't get any kind of actions which it is done by the egret. Okay? So this is the best example of commensalisms. Commensalisms is the best examples of egret and cattle, where egret is positive and cattle is 0. Here egret is benefiting and cattle remains unaffected. Cattle remain unaffected. Okay? Next. Number 6. Amensalisms. Amensalisms. Here the example of egret and cattle in case of commensalisms, and another one is another example of commensalism is epiphytes. Epiphytes. What are called epiphytes? Epiphytes are the small plants which epiphytes are the small plants which takes shelter which takes shelter on the trunk or branches of another tree, which derives the nutrient from the host, which derives the nutrients from the host, as epiphytes is benefiting but the host tree is not benefiting, neither benefiting nor harm. Okay, it remains what to zero. That is what the examples of epiphytes. Epiphytes are the small plants which take shelter on the trunks or branches of another tree, which derive the nutrients from the host plant. The best examples are orchid and suppose this is a trunk. So not trunk, this is a branch, and here the epiphytes are growing. Epiphytes, which kind of plant? This is orchid plant. Which one? Orchid plant. Okay. These are the roots. These are the hanging roots. Okay. This is the host plant. Host plant, branch of host plant. Which one? This one is branch of host plant, and these are the epiphytes. Epiphyte, that is what? It is orchid. Orchid, and these kind of roots are called hanging roots. Hanging roots. The main functions of hanging roots is to maintain their stability and to maintain and to stand upright. Which one? The hanging roots. Okay, and from the hanging roots they also absorb some gases, and the gaseous exchange also takes place through the hanging roots, and these are called the clinging roots. These are the called clinging roots. Clinging roots, which it is getting very much getting very much firm attachment on the inside the host branch. Okay, and these are called what? No, absorbing roots. These are all the small roots which are originating on the clinging roots are called absorbing roots. Absorbing roots. These are the absorbing roots. From absorbing roots, they absorb the nutrient. They absorb the nutrient which is coming from the leaves. Okay, coming from the leaves by the process of translocations. Okay. These are, so this is the what? This is clinging roots. From the clinging roots, the nutrient is going, and from here the roots, clinging roots, they are, and the clinging roots, and the clinging, the epiphyte, the clinging roots of epiphytes, the clinging roots of epiphytes helps the plant to maintain the stability, and the absorbing roots. Here the absorbing roots are there, and from the absorbing roots they absorb the nutrient, and subsequently it goes to the clinging roots for the development of which kind of plant? That is what the epiphyte plant. That are main examples of epiphytes is orchid. Okay. So these are epiphytes. These are the examples of common cell. Now epiphytes exhibiting positive, and this one negative. Okay. Positive is orchid and negative is other plant. Okay. It remains unharmed, but here epiphyte is benefiting. Next, common solutions. Then after that, amine solutions. Number 6, amine solutions. What happens in amine solutions? Number 6, amine solutions, negative and 0. Here one species get harmed, one species get harmed, whereas others remain unaffected. Unaffected. The best example of ammensellism is interactions of penicillin. Penicillin. Interaction of penicillin. 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 Okay? Penicillin, it is an antibiotic which comes from which organisms? From the fungus called Ascomyces. Which one? Penicillium notatum. Penicillium notatum. From Penicillium notatum, antibiotics. Penicillium notatum comes from, penicillin comes from Penicillium notatum. Penicillin is an antibiotic which comes from which organism? That is Penicillium notatum. It is a fungus. As fungus is also a microorganism and bacteria is also a microorganism. When these chemicals or these antibiotics which is derived from Penicillium notatum this penicillin will destroys the growth of which kind of bacteria? Growth of Staphylococcus. Staphylococcus. Okay? Here, none of the organisms are benefiting. But in this case, in ammensellism, penicillin remains unaffected, but one is getting eliminated. Which one? Staphylococcus. Staphylococcus is the bacteria, and Penicillium notatum is what? No? Fungi. Now, fungi is destroying bacteria. The best example of ammensellism is fungi is destroying bacteria by releasing which kind of antibiotic? That is called penicillin. Penicillin is an antibiotic comes from a microorganism called Penicillium notatum which belongs to fungi. Now this penicillin will now destroy the growth of Staphylococcus. In here, negative becomes bacteria and this one is 0 and this remains unaffected and this one will get badly affected. It will get destroyed or it will get eliminated. Clear? So these are the types of interactions. How many types of population interactions are there? 6 types. First one is mutualism. Second one is competition. Number 3 is predations. Number 4 is parasitism. Number 5th is commensalism and number 6 is ammensellism. Okay? All the important type of interactions which are included in the population interactions segment. Okay? So today we have completed that much only. Okay? In the next class, now few more segments are left. That is populations, attributes. Okay? Population attributes and the growth models. Population attributes, growth models and age pyramid. These 3 segments are left which are very important. Okay, which are very important from the examination point of view, and you have to learn that 3 segments which I will be delivering this lecture on the next class. Clear? So till then it's okay and till then it's bye.